Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Mom Show. It's Dr. D, Mom of Three, and today is a very special edition of the Dr. Mom Show. It is my birthday month. That's right, it's Dr. D, Mom of Three's birthday month. So today, the Dr. Mom Show again has a special birthday edition. Whoop, whoop. So intermittently, you will probably catch some pictures of the babies, of me during my birthday. And yes, that's correct. I said birthday month because I do celebrate birthday month once my birthday hits, which is August 9th. And I just celebrate every other day of August, which is the best month ever to be born in. So I'm so glad that you're joining me. You see, I have my princess balloon because I am a princess. But I'm so glad you're joining me. As you know, this season we are focusing all about moms. So moms are focused. So today we're going to be hitting on a topic that is super duper hot. We're going to be talking about don't have back to school panic during a pandemic. And I know a lot of kids are going back to school and parents are in a frenzy because there's all this stuff about online virtual learning and then going back to school, because really online versus in-person learning, which one is right? And we'll delve into that a little bit and some other discussions to kind of get you in a tranquil, relaxed, calm, and peaceful state, because we want to keep the peace during this pandemic and we want to take panic out of this pandemic. So I'm super excited to get started. I hope you guys will enjoy the show today. Don't forget to check out the Dr. Mom shows on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share the video. Make sure you do that. And to connect with me on Instagram at drmom_show and on Facebook, the Dr. Mom Show. So before I go into our topic today, don't forget to check me out at drdeleenmuchalak.com. All my books, all the most up-to-date tips about learning. There will be a link to an article that I was recently featured in and the expert for regarding just going back to school and stress that our kids struggle with during this time. A lot of times, it becomes stressful for us because as the parent, you have to figure out what is best for your child or what you think is best for your child, but we can't forget that our children are also going through these things. So please do not forget that. All right, let's get started here. So again, we are talking about don't have back to school panic during a pandemic. So first, I just want to hit on what can we do as parents in order to keep things as calm as possible. Well, the first thing is we really want to try and keep a routine. And whatever routine, you hear me say this over and over again, all the COVID shows that I've done, is that you really want to try to keep your children on schedule. So even when they go back to school, if they're doing online or virtual learning, you really want to try to fit in their regular lunchtime, their recess time, and keep that going. I know it seems like most of the online learning, they're probably going to do a little shorter days just because it's going to be harder to keep kids' attention on a computer for an entire day. So that's definitely one thing. And with that routine includes sleep, which if you missed the first episode of this season, we talked about rest. I had a special guest on that show, so we talked about rest. So it is so important for your child to get a sufficient amount of rest. Really, it is recommended that school-age children, listen to this, get anywhere from 8 to 12 hours of sleep per night. And that really depends on how old your child is. So, of course, the younger they are, so if they're like 5, 6, they're probably closer to the 12-hour mark, like 10 to 12 hour. And obviously, as we get older, it's closer to 8 hours. Of course, if you have like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, that's more in the 9 to 8 hour range per night. So that's why it's so important to keep a routine, keep their sleep in check. The other thing, and you always hear me talk about me time. Let your kids have a time of just doing something fun for themselves, whether that's reading a book, listening to music, even playing a video game. But again, me time is limited. Me time is limited. That's what's important. So don't just put your kid in front of a TV screen and say like, oh, here, you can do this. That's not what I'm talking about. You want to give them me time for about 30 minutes. I would say me time, you don't want it to be any longer than an hour, which is, pretty significant. So whether it's watching their favorite show, again, going outside and playing, reading a book, or listening to TV. The other thing that's very important is exercise and getting outside. And I know a lot of people, it's very hard now because kids aren't getting to play those intramural sports like they were before. But make sure that you get your kids outside and let them be active. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that kids be active for at least 60 minutes a day. So I want you to kind of step back and think, how active is your child, or how long is your child active every day? Is it 60 minutes? Do you take that time out? And I know it's hard if you get home late, you have to make dinner. A lot of times what's good is, during the day, if you have somebody watching your children, or if they're in an at-home program, they probably have time where they do go outside in the middle of the day. But it is also our responsibility as parents to make sure that they are getting that minimum of 60 minutes a day of activity. Again, this helps to fight against the epidemic of childhood obesity. That's a whole other show that I will be doing. And of course, again, a good support system. So make sure that your children know that you are available. Make sure your children know that you are there and there is open communication. Let your children know that you are there to talk with them. I recommend even having a couple times a week where, again, it's recommended that families eat dinner together, no technology at all. I know sometimes it's difficult, especially if you have two working parents and if everybody has a busy schedule, but no technology, no cell phones, nothing else at the table, and really just conversing with one another about how your day went and how they're feeling. And again, I'm not saying to have, people may be like, oh, this is so lame. So if you feel that way, you don't necessarily have to do it every night. You can do it every 2 to 3 days to just check in and say, hey, how are things going? Like, for example, if your child is switching from in-person to online learning, say, hey, how is your curriculum online? What are the things you like about it? What are things that you don't like about it? For the things you don't like, is there something we can change? Again, just brainstorm if there's something that they don't like about it that you can go ahead and change or work together to make better so that they are more comfortable with that. Now, before I go to my next topic, I promised you that this is the special birthday edition. Whoop, whoop. So I'm going to just throw up a couple of pictures here of my birthday. Enjoy. All right. Aren't those so fantastic? Just so much fun. Love birthdays. So again, we're just talking about things that parents can do in order to make it a smoother transition as kids start school. Now, another thing is religion. If you have any religious beliefs, everybody knows that I'm Christian. I definitely have strong faith, and we have devotion with our children every single day. And your beliefs, it is good to instill that faith into your children, because again, you guys have seen that hashtag faith over fear. Just letting them know that they are protected and there is somebody bigger who is in control, and we don't necessarily have the answers to everything, but again, just something in order to give them a little bit more peace. Now let's go back to the question that I posed initially. So online learning versus in-person, which one is right? So I'm going to lay it out right now. Dun, 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 dun. So neither. Ba-ba. Yes, you heard me correctly. So there is no right or wrong way in this situation. I just want to reiterate so clearly and loudly tonight that every family is different and every family has different resources. There are families that have two working parents. There's families who don't live close to extended family members that they get help from. There's families who have one working parent and one parent who stays at home, or a parent who is able to work from home. So there's different situations. So parents, do not feel guilty. I'm going to throw this up here. Do not feel guilty. So no pandemic parent guilt, please. Please, please, please do not feel guilty. I know a lot of school systems, really there's some school systems who are like, hey, we're pushing out with online learning, that is what it is. But then there's some other school systems where you get the opportunity to choose whether you want to do online or in person or even a hybrid learning system. But please, parents, remember, do not think that you're a bad parent if you choose one, or you're just stuck between a rock and a hard place trying to decide what's best for your child. Again, this goes back, if you do have a choice, this goes back to, one, assessing your resources and what your family can do and what's the best setup for your family. And then two, again, very importantly, having that open communication with your child or your children, because you need to get your child involved. You need to ask them, hey, they have an option for online learning. Do you feel that this is something that would work for you? Because the majority of schools, and I really think essentially all schools in the spring when COVID hit hard and there was a lockdown, went to online learning. So the majority of kids at this point have experienced online learning, so they have something to compare it to. So again, make sure you have that open conversation. But I just want to reiterate, parents, do not feel guilty. Do not feel like this is the biggest decision ever. It is a big decision, but you know what? We are only human, and we live in the now. That, hey, that this is, you know, nobody can plan. We don't know what's going to happen. So just do what's best and what's right for you now. You guys got me? So I better not have any guilty parents out there. No guilty parents at all. So again, if you're just joining in, we are talking about how not to have back to school panic during a pandemic. That's right. We are bringing peace. We are bringing peaceful minds during this time. Oh, I'm rhyming all crazy today. Now another thing is, how can parents, what attributes can parents have in order to show their children to make it through this time, and for children not to panic? Because I mean, it is very unprecedented times. There's a lot of things going on. So what can we do as parents to help our children not panic? So number one, you have to remember that we are role models. We are role models. Say that with me. Type that in there. We are role models. That's right. You are a role model. That's how important you are. So I want you to remember that your children are looking at you. So if you're frantic and in a frenzy, your children will also be frantic and in a frenzy. But if you're calm, collective, prepared, your children will also be the same way. So I just want to reiterate to you, you know, and even it is a time, again, a lot of things are unknown, and just as humans, it is very easy to get anxious and fearful during the unknown. Nobody likes the unknown. So we know that. That's normal. But it's a different situation when you can't live your life, or you're in such a frenzy or so frantic because of everything that's happening. And we don't want that to happen to our children. We do not. So parents, you want to be prepared. You want to stay up to date with what's happening. Again, I really encourage as parents that you know what's happening locally in your area, in your county, what your numbers are for COVID, what's going on in your neighborhood, again, your state, even better, like I said, your county, your town, more specifically to you, what is happening and what the policies are regarding your local location. So that's number one. The other thing, the CDC has even recommended that exposure to the media should be limited because it can be misinterpreted by children. And this is from the Centers of Disease Control. So again, we hear a whole bunch of news all the time. Then we hear what other people are saying. You know, there's people all over the place saying stuff. So our kids, you have to remember, our kids are also exposed to this. Our kids are seeing things on TV, seeing things on social media. There's stuff being posted on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you know, everywhere. So they are hearing and seeing things also. And then, of course, there's news outlets. So again, you want to limit the exposure. It's not that you're hiding it from them. It's just that you're pretty much just assessing what they are hearing and what they're seeing, because you just want them to hear the right factual things. In addition, you, again, like the CDC talks about, you don't want those things to be misinterpreted. So one way I feel is very helpful with this is if you guys watch the news together. Or again, when you have your every few days or your weekly family sit down, you can kind of go over, hey, what'd you hear? What's the update? What's the most recent news regarding this situation? So again, just talk about it. And if there's a question, again, this goes back to that open communication. Even if you don't know the answer, it's okay. You guys can look it up together and research it. See, you can do something together. So definitely be on the lookout about what your kids are watching and what they're hearing about what's happening in the world, because there's lots of platforms out there. Again, that's one of my reasons I created the Dr. Mom Show, because there's so much information out there. But that's why this is an evidence-based show, because we want people to be well-informed. We want people to make, you know, well-informed decisions. But, you know, unfortunately, everything out there isn't true. So definitely check in with your kids regarding that. Now, finally, I just want to talk about, you know, isolation. There's been a lot about depression, anxiety, insomnia. That's difficulty sleeping, the rate of suicide and anxiety, that's gone up. I mean, there's just a lot happening during this time. Part of it is because of the isolation. The other part is, again, the unknown and the panic. But again, today we are talking about how not to panic during back to school during a pandemic. So we are getting away from that. So, you know, unfortunately, those numbers have gone up. And what we've seen is patients and even kids who don't have a history of anxiety, depression, or insomnia now are, you know, showing those symptoms. And then patients who have had a diagnosis of anxiety, depression, insomnia, their symptoms have gone up. Just their, you know, intensity of their symptoms have gone up. Now, you know, you really, again, just want to keep close communication with your children. Again, just checking in, even if it's once a week, to see how they're doing. See how they're tolerating everything, because again, this has been a time where we haven't been able to see family and friends. Even if we see them, you're doing air hugs, you're doing air high fives, you know, you're doing elbow bumps. I mean, totally different. And as humans, we love that human touch, and that has been missing. So just some things to keep an eye out with your kids, that these are just some red flags that if you notice anything like this, it may mean that, you know, you may need to call your child's physician, or you may need a specialist, just to, again, just get your child seen and make sure they're getting the help that they need. So in our younger kids, if you notice a regression, if they're acting younger, if they're all of a sudden are dragging a blankie and they like have some attachment and it's been 2 years since they dragged their blankie or whipped out the pacifier, The other thing is if kids start having temper tantrums and they've been great for some time, and then all of a sudden now temper tantrums, way out on the floor, all of that. So just that regression. As far as kids when they get older, so like our adolescents, teenagers, if you notice mood swings, irritability, headaches, if you notice that their eating habits are changing, any issues as far as them saying anything about hurting themselves or anybody else, if you notice that they're isolating more than usual, if they're withdrawn from the family and like don't want to talk, like if you have somebody, you know, my sister and I are very like talkative, our parents can't even get a word in, so I know if we weren't talking, our parents would be like, something is wrong with them. So definitely just tuning in on that. And then of course a decline in academic performance. So these are just some things. These aren't all the things, but these are just some red flags you can keep an eye out for that will make you want to just reach out to someone to see if your child needs further help. Now, of note, you know, this gets a little tricky. I think parents of adolescents, so middle school age kids, have it rough during this time, because during that time frame of middle school and adolescence, there's just a lot of changes happening. Puberty is hitting. That's usually a huge time where they already kind of have an attitude and think they know everything. You know, doors may be slamming. So that is a hard time. So especially in that age group, you want to pay attention that if those symptoms are even worse, because they're at a little higher risk of depression and anxiety and insomnia, because at baseline at this age, it's like an age where you want to fit in. Sometimes people already feel isolated because they feel like they don't fit in. And then now, like, we are physically isolating from other people because of the pandemic. So those are just a few things to keep an eye on. Now, finally, I just want to say that there is hope. There is always, always, always hope. That there are still fun things that you can do, you know, so you don't want to say, okay, we're isolated, here's this pandemic, we can't do anything at all, you know, done and done. No, not at all. Definitely keep interaction with family and friends. So of course there's Zoom, there's Skype, there's a whole bunch of different platforms, there's FaceTime. Now there's a whole bunch of apps that you can use to play games. Like literally you can interact and play games. So if I'm on an app with 5 of my friends, we're doing the same trivia, and you know, we're competing against each other, and then it's just fun, but at the same time you're also interacting, which is nice. So you don't necessarily have to set up a theme, quote unquote, for each night, because then your kids will probably get tired of you. But have some sort of theme, whether it's like 3 nights a week where you have like a family game night, family movie night, a friends night that they do something virtual with their friends. If you have a cook-off night or a baking night, you know, just keep it going, keep things going, keep things interesting. Don't be bogged down by this. This is not like the hard and fast that, oh my goodness, this is it, we cannot do anything. No, at this point, we just need to be more creative, and I just gave you a whole bunch of ideas on how to be creative. So you just need to be a little more creative, and of course involve your children, again, like I mentioned before, because they may have an amazing idea about something they want to do, or a game they want to play, or an activity that you're just like, oh my gosh, that is so awesome that you thought of that. So definitely make sure that you are doing activities and other things just to keep that brightness, that light, that fun in your home, and not let it be all about COVID-19. Because remember, there's other things happening in the world too. You know, there's other good and bad things happening, and the good part is there are good things happening, like my birthday. So there's great things happening in the world. So please remember that, and also remember to remind your children of that. So don't be consumed with the pandemic, because then we don't want, remember, we are role models, so we don't want our children to be consumed with that. So again, I hope this has been helpful. I hope that this has helped you so that you don't have back to school panic, nor your child, during this pandemic, because you are going to get through it. It's probably going to be a little bumpy because this is new for everybody. So it is probably going to be bumpy, but you know what? We live and learn. We take one day at a time, one step in front of the other, right? We don't hop when we walk with 2 feet, right? No, we don't. We take one step. It's 1 foot in front of the other. And, you know, that's how we just have to do this. So again, I just want to encourage you during this back to school season, do not panic during this pandemic. I hope my tips help. If you want to see more tips, you can check out, again, drdeleenmuchalak.com, and then I will have the link to the magazine that I was the expert in regarding just back to school stress and helping your kids out. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the Dr. Mom Show. And most of all, don't forget to connect on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, you know, it's just lots of fun. And then Instagram, every day I usually do something that's interactive. So definitely something to check out. Don't forget to like, comment, and share the video. Also, if you have any topics or comments that you want me to talk about, you have any burning questions, let me know. Also, please don't forget that the Dr. Mom Show is a medical informational resource. It does not take the place of your physician or your child's physician. So if you have medical questions, definitely ask your physician or your child's physician. This is informational. So again, if there's topics you want me to hit on, let me know. And of course, happy birthday to all my August people out there. Woo, woo. We are for sure hands down the best people, us August babies. We are amazing. I love you guys. Special love to my August people. Don't forget to wash your hands, kiss your kids, love your family, and say your prayers good night. And check out these final photos of my birthday month. Love you guys.